Welcome back to Normal About Dragongate, the podcast section of my channel, as my bestie Eden will be joining me in just a moment. We first met in person at Mania Week in Philly last year, so it was only fitting that we'd meet up again for Mania Week in Vegas, especially because of the return of Dragongate USA. The visuals in this are mostly going to be trip photos. I didn't take a lot of pictures during matches because I wanted to give the shows my full attention. I also caught a massive cold that hit me as soon as I got back home, which you may still hear in my voice because I'm still getting over it, so please forgive my low energy levels in this episode because I have been exhausted all week, both from the trip and from being sick. I first wanted to just talk a little bit about my trip the previous weekend.
Yes, of course. I mean, you were going to take the lead anyway, but obviously I was not there for the Prestige Roseland and Defy shows that were the week before.
Yeah, I drove down for those. Did most of the drive to Portland in one go. That opened with KZ versus Kevin Blackwood.
That was a fun match. I did watch it after the fact. I was intending to stay up for a couple of those, but with time zones, it would have been like 2 a.m. by the time the show even started.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not really built for that.
Yeah.
Certainly not anymore.
Yeah, second one for that was the four-way with Ho-Ho Lun, Susumu Yokosuka, Ishin, and Ethan HD, who's a local guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty good. He's been around for a long time, kind of like veteran workhorse type of style. He also does commentary on Defy sometimes.
I'm familiar with the sort of Prestige oeuvre, so I'm familiar with the guys that they use.
Yeah, the rest of that Prestige show was good. I mostly want to focus on just Dragongate stuff, though.
Yeah, of course.
But it was cool to see Azumi. So yeah, at Roseland, I went down to the merch table and I bought the new Dragongate shirt design. Ho-Ho didn't recognize me at first because since the last time I saw him, I've grown a significant beard, and he was like very tired from the flight. So I was just like, oh hey, and I could kind of tell he was trying to like parse out who I was, and I'm like, it's Mark. And he's like, oh, I didn't even recognize you. You look like a different person.
I mean, he must have been very tired because you didn't look that different.
I mean, I only saw him that one time in Philly.
True.
So I had funny little encounters with each of them. I told Susumu I'd been a fan since M2K, and he goes, so long ago. And I was like, yeah, I'm old. And that made him laugh. I kind of jump scared KZ with my Shun Skywalker shirt. I had a hoodie over it and just like opened it up and showed him, and he goes, oh, he's a bad guy.
Big reveal and everything. It was very dramatic of you.
And then Ishin saw it and he's like, oh, my partner. And Ishin knows quite a bit more English than I suspected he did. Which
he has been leveraging, yeah.
And he's really funny too.
He's so funny.
Yeah.
Before everything, the second that Ishin was announced for, especially Prestige, it was so obvious that he was going to play really well to that crowd.
Oh yeah.
Which is generally a Prestige crowd is pretty receptive anyway. To sort of whatever gets put before them, even if they're not necessarily familiar with it, which honestly is one of the best ways to approach wrestling in general, and art. But there's just something about Ishin and his character right now, and that he's kind of an extremely silly, goofy guy who also is an extremely talented wrestler, and he has just such a larger than life presentation that really that just really suits that kind of environment.
Yeah, he connected really well with the crowd, and so did KZ. But I think most people knew who KZ was.
Yeah, with KZ, it's kind of a given. It's KZ.
The other thing with Ishin is we talked a little bit about how he can't go for the Brave Gate anymore because of the weight class thing. So he lifts up his shirt and starts slapping his belly, and he goes, "Sumo!"
I was going to say, that's incredibly sumo-coded.
If there was ever a sign from the universe on the way up to Seattle for the Defy show the next day, I got stuck in traffic behind a car that had the license plate Zebra.
I had forgotten about that until just now. I am utterly bewildered as to who that might be. What kind of... yeah, because what kind of coincidence could that be if it's not deliberate? You don't just pluck that out of the air.
I mean... It was not one of them. I even pulled up next to them just to make sure it was just some guy.
Wild.
And he wasn't going to Washington Hall for the show either, so...
Wild.
He veered off the highway somewhere else. So, Godspeed to you, sir.
Or maybe not, considering everything that's going on with Zebrats right now.
The Defy show had Ho-Ho and Ishin teaming up, which is a wild team.
Say, that's
sure.
asking for a very particular genre of chaos.
It's very, I think it was Sharon who was posting about it. Tired dad reigning in an unruly child energy.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And they were in a triple threat tag with Midnight Heat, who I haven't worked with before, but I've met them before. They're good guys, but they're like perennial heels in the ring, like complete assholes.
Yeah.
And C4, who are also buddies of mine. Cody Chun and Guillermo Rosas. Yeah, and then we had the main event, which I was surprised it was the main event because they had Timothy Thatcher versus Zack Sabre Jr. on the card.
That is a surprise actually, but it depends. It always depends on the sort of ethos that people have towards, especially that promotions have towards belts and challenges and stuff like that. You can never be sure.
Yeah, and also I know Matt Farmer, who runs Defy, and he definitely has more respect for Dragongate than a lot of other indies.
Yeah.
Who just kind of throw them on the card. But it was cool because during the Thatcher and Sabre match, you could see a bunch of wrestlers in the back just kind of gathering around the door and kind of peering in to watch this like technical masterclass.
Yeah, cool. That tends to happen with Sabre matches in general. Because being when I got into wrestling when I did, and being English, could you tell? I've seen a lot of Sabre matches in person. And even though, like, I realize slightly off topic, but even though it's not necessarily the type of wrestling that I always gravitate towards, there are some people that just are masters at what they do. You know, it's impossible to deny what you're watching, and Sabre doing his thing is always utterly captivating to watch.
It's my favorite style to edit, actually.
I remember you saying.
A lot of people will say, like, oh, I bet you like, editing the high-flying matches. High-flying matches are actually kind of annoying because I have to switch to, like, wide angles and...
Too much.
It's like, lots of quick cuts, but, like, technical matches, you can really get in there and like focus on facial expressions and holds, and you can see what people are actually doing to limbs.
Yeah.
Like when before Daniel Makabe retired, I used to love editing his matches. And also Artemis Spencer, who we'll get to a bit later.
We will.
And
that sounded vaguely threatening. We'll get to you later.
We'll get to him later. So yeah, anyway, main event. KZ and Suzumu versus Sinner and Saint.
Oh, it's for you.
Oh, that was very much for me. Matt even posted that he booked that for me.
Oh, that's delightful, though.
Yeah, I said, I swear you booked this for me, and he responded, oh, he did.
Oh, goals. When will someone book the match that I want? When will I see Michael Oku versus Shun Skywalker?
Someday. We'll make it happen.
Well, we better.
Well, I mean, as we'll talk about, I am apparently gradually building an empire, so...
Build it faster! I need this match before Oku gets signed somewhere and I can't see him.
Yeah, right. For those who don't know, Sinner and Saint, so they didn't actually unite until they were on the road together, because it was always the two of them going to different promotions all over the States, so they just started teaming up.
Inevitable.
They're still, I think, they were down this whole belt collector run where they were doing, to date, still both Defy and Smash champions. Smash is out of Toronto.
Yeah. I saw something about that on social media, and I can't remember what it was, but yes.
They were also Pride Style, which is out of Vegas. I don't believe they have those anymore, though. And they were also Prestige champions. They are not anymore, though. But there was like this whole thing about how they were partnering up with Alan Angels in Prestige, and then he kind of started failing them, and they just turned on him on that last show before Vegas week. So now I guess their face is there, and they're still heels everywhere else, which is fun. So yeah, that was a really cool main event. And then after I talked to Ho-Ho again, and that's when he was cool with very graciously filming a bit of content for that subscribe video for me. He told me Ishin could not be in it though with the rest of them, just because the heels can't be seen with the faces.
I do like the implication though that he would have been were it not for the laws that govern this land.
Oh yeah, I could have gotten him individually. More on that later. So yeah, then I drove back up that night actually. Ho-Ho said they were driving down to LA for a stopover to meet up with everybody, because they were flying in, the rest of them were flying into LA for Vegas, and apparently the hotel was not there, or it was shut down, so they had to make emergency accommodations. They did all arrive safely though, and managed to all link up and then drive to Vegas after that. But yeah, what a nightmare that must have been, because they were all super tired, either from the flights or the
I can't imagine having to deal with all of that whilst after doing international travel. Like, it was stressful enough for me, and I only had to get an Uber from the airport. Like, I didn't do any layovers or anything. I got a direct flight, and then I just Ubered to friends where I was staying. So I wouldn't want to, like, imagine if I turned up and her house was no longer there.
Yeah, so then I got like a day and a half back home to rest up before my flight to Vegas, and then I did take some really cool pictures of inactive volcanoes that we flew over along the way. So I actually got some cool pictures of Death Valley as we flew in too. And then as we were landing, I took a picture of the sphere. That
everyone takes a picture of the sphere, because Chuck did the same thing, I did the same thing, and when we ran into Saber later, I ended up talking about the sphere at him as well.
And then so that was the Tuesday that week, and I got my rental car, I settled into the hotel, had this unfortunate debacle with my bank card being frozen, because I still have a bank account in the States. And so I was using that. They did not like that I was booking lots of purchases in a place where I usually don't go. So they put a hold on it. And then there was this thing where I had to, I was trying to book a hotel, but the transaction got declined because of the hold on the card. Yeah. And so I went with another one, which I think I paid through PayPal just because the card wasn't working. So I got this email that was like, do you want to authorize this transaction? Yes or no? And it just gave me like a link, not like any chance to explain, the circumstances or anything. So I clicked that I didn't want to authorize it because I didn't want that first hotel transaction to go through. Yeah. And then they were like, your card is frozen. It was like, oh, that's all it takes? Like clicking on a link.
Wildly complicated and vaguely untrustworthy.
So I spent like the next couple days on the phone with customer service, and they were all telling me that oh, well, since you confirmed that it was fraud, which I didn't confirm it was fraud.
That's not what that is.
Yeah, you're going to have to be issued a new card. I'm like, you're going to be like stranding me in Las Vegas. You realize? Yeah. Fortunately, I was able to get a virtual credit card, and so I just had that on my phone, and I took out some cash, and I was fine with that. And then, like, a couple days later, my card just gets unfrozen randomly, so I didn't even have, just why even put me through that in the first place? Anyway, Banks. Shortly before I met up with you, though, I got jump scared by Soraya in a clothing store.
You did? Another thing that I'd forgotten. Like, so much has happened over the past 2 weeks now, and I'm barely compos mentis because I've been so tired.
Because I wanted kind of like an open short sleeve button down shirt, and was just like looking at a clothes rack, and suddenly I look up and there's Soraya right next to me, and. I was polite, but...
We were goofing on the previous podcast that just cannot escape the Knight family. And I was like, even here, even in Las Vegas, just cannot escape them.
Well, I think I was saying, like, I have that luxury and you don't, but apparently I don't anymore.
No.
After we linked up, there was the Rebirth at the Palms.
Oh, boy. I was so jazzed. Like... You're starting a week of wrestling. The first show is always, like, kind of sets the tone for the week you're going to have. And it being Dragongate, obviously, I was particularly excited. Especially for the the main event, and the fact that I was going with a bunch of people who were not particularly familiar with Dragongate.
Yeah, I did meet a couple people in the lobby who I knew were regular fans. I think it was a largely GCW crowd.
Yeah.
But like I met the Open the Voice Gate guys there.
The thing about Rebirth, I think, as well, that's worth contextualizing, is for weeks like this, most people get in on the Thursday, or they get in on the Wednesday in order to be at shows on the Thursday. So the people that you're going to get this early in the week when pretty much nothing else is happening, and generally, apart from some of the like really smaller, like the smaller, scrabblier indies, things don't happen on Tuesday, Wednesday on a Mania week at all.
Right.
This was kind of a bit of an outlier. So the people that were there were largely going to be people who were more local, people who were curious, or people that were specifically there to see Dragongate.
Right. The only exception was the WWE ID tournament.
It was before.
Was like, yeah, it was kind of like piggybacked onto the collective at the last second.
Yeah. It was all fairly last minute.
If you get me started on how WWE is piggybacking onto their own piggyback event, I will never stop talking.
I mean, that's not a surprise. Just sort of speaking broadly about the kind of audience that you're going to get at a show like this, it is, a lot of it is kind of just a timing thing. If I hadn't had the accommodation situation that I had, where I was staying Tuesday to Tuesday, I wouldn't have been able to go to the show because there's no way I would have probably gotten in like late on the Wednesday to get ready for shows on the Thursday. So I know that's not to say that there wasn't a crowd or that the crowd wasn't engaged. It's just that there was a slightly less of a crowd because no one was in Vegas yet.
Yeah, and also there was that last minute venue change where
venue and time.
The other one would have been a more intimate setting, so it does not surprise me that it wasn't a huge turnout in the venue itself.
Well, yeah.
And also the Pearl Theater is not, like, the acoustics are not designed to have the sound coming from the floor or the audience. It's designed to come from the stage.
Yeah, so it's very literally a theater.
Yeah, like, so in between, big moves and things like that, you could hear a pin drop, unfortunately.
Yeah, and sometimes that's just the nature of a venue and stuff. And even then, sometimes with the crowd, they're not going to be going absolutely ape for everything. So when it started, it was like 8, and I was so jet lagged that by the time that we got to the main event, I literally felt like I was hallucinating parts of it because I was so tired. So my memories of this show are perhaps a little bit screwy because of that.
Well, let's go through the show match by match then. KZ against Marcus Mathers,
who was on the ETU show previously last year.
Mathers is now an ID guy though, so
whatever that means. Who knows? No one knows. Does Marcus know? I don't know.
Yeah, I still don't really know what it means. I guess it's like, we're looking at you, but
it's an empty promise. And there's always going to be a lot of misinformation and disinformation about sort of any of this. But having gone through a particularly rough experience with talent being poached in the UK.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say you saw that whole thing with like the indies just being gutted from NXT UK.
I think that there was more stuff going on than people necessarily realized. I'm not going to defend what happened because I don't think it's defensible. But there were people were making choices for themselves.
Oh, sure.
And fans of wrestling tend to forget that wrestlers are people that make their own decisions about their careers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like, I also like come from a film background. Like if somebody was working in indie films and then like Hollywood comes calling, you go to Hollywood. Yeah. Make that money. It's just, there's a lot of ethical conversations to be had about this.
Absolutely. And the thing with ID, it's just so vague and nebulous, and that's a truly understandable reason why everyone's so on edge about it. It's impossible to tell right now.
It's not a thing that I trust.
No, I don't. I trust it as far as I can throw it, but I also don't necessarily think we need to be panicking about it just yet. And the other thing as well, speaking from the perspective of the UK indies, or at least of a fan, it is possible to come back. Like, the people were always, they were going on Brit Rest is dead. You know, what's the point in investing anything into it?
Oh, there will always be indies.
There will always be indies, and there is always a period of existential crisis whenever there is a large period of change in something like indie wrestling.
Yeah, of course.
And there are a lot of people who are only experiencing that kind of existential crisis for the first time now. So they don't necessarily understand how par for the course big shifts are. It's like PWG just sort of disappearing for, completely understandable reasons, but PWG effectively doesn't exist anymore. And that is a massive blow to the indies that I don't think people are really discussing enough.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think there are enough promotions on the West Coast right now to fill that gap.
But that's the thing. There will always be something.
Yeah.
People tend to act like one company folding, even if it's a fantastic company, even if it changed the landscape of wrestling. There will be something else. It won't be the same, but it can't be the same. Not to get too philosophical on this recap podcast.
Well, I mean, also you have stuff like, well, not merger, but working relationships between Prestige and West Coast Pro and Deadlock.
Defy and Progress as well.
Yeah, and I think that conglomeration, if you want to call them that, would probably be the one to run Bola again if they were going to do that.
Yeah, something like it.
Or it could just be like PWG doing it as a one-off.
Yeah. Ultimately, my point being is kind of just a little bit wait and see. I mean, I don't know what went down on the WWE ID tournament show. No one was talking about it.
Yeah, that's what was kind of interesting about it, is like, I didn't hear a thing about it.
I think that's probably fairly damning in and of itself, is that that people will show up for the individual talents, but when it comes to it being WWE ID, like, who cares? Who cares particularly? I just can't see it really meaning all that much. If WWE are going to do a sort of salt and burn poaching thing, they're gonna do it regardless of how we feel about WWE ID.
And I mean, looking at history, NXT UK failed.
Yeah,
and they couldn't sustain it.
A number of different reasons as well. It wasn't just antipathy, because there were fans.
Yeah. I mean, some of that was definitely pandemic, but...
Yes, it would be disingenuous to act like no one cared. We just see the pockets.
Yeah. For all my criticisms of the company, it has been successful for a reason. Anyway, that was a big
tangent, but that's what
tangent
we do.
because of you, Marcus Mathers.
I blame you. I'm going to see him at Super Strong Style as well, so I'm going to probably have this conversation again.
No, I mean, like, good for him. He's talented. He's actually very young. How old is he? He's like 22?
22 or something like that. Ridiculous. Yeah. But he's had a ridiculous amount of matches. He's only real...
He's already had a great career.
Yeah, my only real thing about him is, if we're talking about ID, I still don't really know his identity as a wrestler. Because, especially now, a lot of what he's doing kind of feels... Unsurprisingly, there's a lot of Osprey inspiration and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And it is what it is, and he's still young. But it does make it a little bit hard to really understand where he might be going, because I don't know what his perspective is on wrestling yet.
He also, just being an ETU guy, has quite a bit of inspiration from Dragongate.
Oh yeah, no, he knows ball. Like, I chatted with him briefly when he was over for a Progress show. But again, I have yet to see it fully reflected in what he is doing in terms of his actual presentation and his wrestling. And this is not necessarily a criticism of any of his technical ability. It is just a matter of growth. He's so young, he's yet to find himself as an artist, and that's just part of the process.
Meanwhile, Dragongate's got like 21-year-olds who are already...
Yeah, but that doesn't count. The circumstances are so different.
It doesn't count, yeah.
And even then, we've had situations just in the last year of sort of rookies where people have been like, he hasn't quite gotten the thing yet. And then they find the thing and you're like, why weren't you doing this from the beginning? Oh, it's because you hadn't found the thing yet. It's the warp and weft of artistry, and so much of that is dictated by the circumstances that you're in.
Let's move through the card.
Yes,
then.
after
next we
several
had
tangents.
I actually, like, I don't remember a whole lot about this show just because of, like, the experiences that I had since then were just, like, so much.
I remember us being
like,
surprised
this was just kind of the
that
start
it was
of
actually Casey time.
Yeah. I mean, it's always Casey time in my heart.
In our hearts and in our souls.
But yeah, next we had Neo Genesis, Azumi and Starlight Kid against Hate with Konami and Natsuko Tora.
Tora is so cool.
I love Tora.
That's what I took away from that match. She's so cool.
She is a force of nature. Mm-hmm. I love a powerhouse in Joshi.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not that familiar with Konami. I kind of fell out of following Stardom regularly.
Yeah.
But
I admit
obviously I know Azumi and Starlight Kid.
Yeah, I admit to being a bit of a Joshi idiot. I don't know a lot. I'm learning. And I did used to watch Stardom way back in the day, a little bit here and there.
Honestly, right now, Dragongate is most of what I follow. When I am in the mood for Joshi, I will go to Stardom just because it's got like the same unit structure as Dragongate and is very inspired by it.
The same idol approach.
And if you follow either Dragon Kid or Starlight Kid on Instagram, they are buds.
Besties.
Yeah, it's very cool. Like he's definitely a mentor to her. Basically, like that's why she wanted to be a masked character was because of Dragon Kid.
I mean,
she's heavily inspired by him.
It's the running joke, isn't it, that every Joshi's favorite wrestler is Dragon Kid.
Well, I mean, every cruiserweight.
Yeah, at the least. One of the things that I really appreciated about both Rebirth and the show with Revolution is sort of reading the room and making sure that they did have at least one women's match on the card.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. That is one thing that I think Glade did that I don't see Dragongate really ever doing is creating a fairly solid women's division.
Yeah.
Even though Glade's wasn't fantastic or anything.
Well,
but
they still did it, yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with Noah. Occasionally just women turning up in Noah, and you're like, oh yeah, women are here sometimes. It's not strictly a division.
I mean, which I get because there still is like the gender separation with a lot of companies.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that DG USA does want women on their cards.
I mean, we're still having difficulty in the West of having more than one women's match on a card, even though, the talent is there.
It's a low bar to clear, is what I'm saying. Let's move on. Ho Ho Lun against Reese Maddox. Reese is very new. I will talk about this after we get through the card, but Reese is the son of Jason Ayers, SmackDown referee, who got his start refereeing in DG USA. So it was a really cool full circle moment for him.
A really subtle legacy, yeah.
Jason actually reached out to me because he watches my channel. So, Jason, if you and Reese are watching, hello, and thank you. Cool to see Ho-Ho getting a singles win for once.
Oh, yeah.
And Reese is very new and he's very young. He's good so far. He's like only got a handful of matches though. So
he's debuted in like June or something ridiculous like that.
Oh yeah, like I think last July was his debut or something like that. Yeah,
he's been here for like 20 seconds, so I think he's solid enough.
But yeah, he's solid. I like what he's got so far.
Yeah.
So next, the Ring Breaker El Kukui, who I always really like seeing him teaming with La Estrella and Ultimo Dragon, which is a wild team.
Wild combination of people.
Against Sovereign,
Hell yeah.
all my boys, Evan Rivers, Judas Icarus, and Travis Williams. I really appreciate that they actually build them as Sovereign.
Yes.
Because Sinner and Saint, when they were on the road, like Seattle is the closest American city to the border near Vancouver. So when they started teaming up there, Evan Rivers went down there with them and they Defy paired them up into Sovereign. They were originally sort of like minions of Christopher Daniels, actually, because Christopher Daniels had a stint, quite a long stint in Defy, actually. He was tag team champions with Swerve when he was still there.
As you do.
It was really cool to see them all on a Dragongate card. Just like, I mean, if we're talking about my worlds colliding, like this match right here.
Very that. I like how we're ostensibly talking about Dragongate, but it has kind of just become Sinner and Saint Sovereign Law Drop Hour, which I appreciate. I
mean, I'm the guy that you want to talk to about that.
Exactly.
Like, I've been working with those guys for a little over 2 years now, I think. Sinner and Saint especially just have this, like, insane chemistry with double team moves.
Yeah, they're so good.
We saw them all over the weekend.
Stupid
So.
good. The thing that makes it so perfect as well is that they have the esteem and skill for tag team wrestling that is what makes me love tag team wrestling. And that's why we go to Dragongate for the, that kind of the not putting multi-man and tag wrestling as if it's somehow lesser. Like, there's such an art to it that it isn't just, people get thrown together and they do moves. There's such an instinct and an artistry in the way that Dragongate handle trios. Sovereign just sort of understand. That's why I've left this week even higher on them than I was coming out Philly, which was my first real introduction.
Oh, right, you did
them.
see them in Philly.
Yeah.
That's right.
I was aware of them before that, but I hadn't actually seen them.
And also, I've probably talked them up a dozen times.
Well, yeah, but then less. But there's always a few people that sort of win the indies in a WrestleMania weekend, and they're definitely amongst the short list of people who have shown up and shown out.
Oh yeah, they have definitely turned some heads.
Rightfully so.
So there was a 3-way tag with Rich Swann and Willie Mack against Ben Kay and Hyo and Alec Price and Jimmy Lloyd. Jimmy Lloyd was a replacement for Cole Radrick, who's injured.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Lloyd is a GCW guy. I actually worked on one of his matches pretty recently. Tara Zepp has a new deathmatch promotion called No Fate that I've been working on. So he was kind of a last-minute replacement. So he actually stepped up into a main event and fought Tara in a deathmatch. That should be coming soon if anyone's interested in that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the GCW crowd that was there were there for Jimmy Lloyd, I think. But Ben Kay and Hyo both have kind of characters that translate well to the American audience, even without Ben Kay doing like turning up the chicky stuff anymore.
There were, I know that I saw at least some chatter online that if people weren't necessarily familiar with Dragongate, they were familiar with, at least other than obviously Ultimo, they generally tended to be familiar with KZ and Ben Kay, and I couldn't speculate why that is, but Ben Kay got really good responses throughout the whole week.
Yeah, and I think it took people a little while to get what Hyo was doing.
The second they did, perfect for Vegas. If we're talking about people that sort of won, obviously in a slightly more controlled environment, it sounds really patronizing, but Hyo did so well. He did absolutely fantastically across the whole week.
Proud of our cat boy.
Proud of our boy. He showed up. He showed everyone exactly who he is. He did some of the best wrestling I think I've ever seen him do. And he seemed to be loving every second of it. And he was also making good money. Rich
Swann and Willie Mack, both Dragongate family.
It was so cool to see Willie Mack, and he's just a dude that I enjoy.
Willie Mack is great. I've always liked him. He's just fun.
So fun.
I feel like Rich Swann is probably better than he's ever been. He's a guy that kind of fell off my radar for a little while, and then he came back really good.
Yeah. I think new lease on life kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I remember liking Alec Price from last year's ETU show. Was he against Shun?
Yes.
Was that the match? So yeah, I liked this one a lot. Everyone in it pulled their weight.
It's a 3-way tag.
We all know cage match ratings aren't real, but that got the highest rating of the show, that match.
Oh, really?
Though people are weirdly shitting on it.
That doesn't surprise me.
The entire show as a whole.
Yeah, again, that doesn't surprise me. I'll be upfront. I think it wasn't a top-to-toe banger, but I don't think it needed to be.
It was a solid return, I think, but being the beginning of so many matches that they all had to do, they had to conserve themselves for the end of it. And oh god, did they deliver.
Well, yes.
And then we got our I was calling it the whole ass Dragongate match.
The most Dragongate.
With Paradox and Z-Brats. Dragon Kid, Susumu Yokosuka, and Yamato against Ishin, Kota Minoura, and Shun Skywalker. It was really fun to see how people reacted to Shun.
Oh, that's one of my absolute favorite things to do in general. is see people react to Shun if they have limited or no experience of him whatsoever.
Did you notice the people who were starting to like imitate his bleeding?
Yes, it's inevitable. That's gonna happen.
Yeah. Which I'm not sure if I like that or not, but
I hope it doesn't entirely become too much of a thing, but I think
like it wasn't overwhelming. But
no, I think there's kind of a human instinct when you hear something weird to replicate it.
Yeah,
it's kind of a common thing in Brit Rest. If someone makes a particularly strange sound, there will be a minute where people just kind of repeat that from the audience. So to me, that's kind of standard.
Ishin got his shtick over really well. Everyone loves Dragon Kid. I mentioned this on Blue Sky, but Dragon Kid played Face in Peril so much
He
that
did.
week.
Like, he was... and this is for an audience that don't know that he nearly broke his neck in Twain just a few months ago.
That was like 5 months ago?
Barely.
Susumu had a bit of trouble connecting with the crowd because he is a very stoic kind of guy. But once people saw him in the ring, they got it, you know?
Well, he was kind of surrounded by slightly larger, like a lot of the larger than life characters as well. Because, I mean, it'll come up when we talk about Defy, but in Defy he was teaming with Hyo, who obviously, like, immediately more recognizable, but as a shtick. But that's always the interesting part, is seeing what is the thing that makes people click with someone that they're not strictly familiar with.
Right.
And unsurprisingly, with Susumu, it's his goddamn wrestling.
And then, of course, you get Yamato, who, as we have said many times, is a presence.
Yamato is Yamato, and he's fairly undeniable. But my friend Chuck was determined to baby girlify him, which was very funny.
I do feel like I continue to feel bad for Kota Minoura because he's kind of like in a match with 6 people, he is the 6th.
Yeah, he's like, you know, I love him, but he is a little bit the rest. When he's not, especially when, as it was over this weekend, when he's not doing story beats with Shun. So when you don't have that tension in the match that something might go wrong between him and Shun.
Yeah.
He is a little bit more functional than he is in other places.
Right. Whenever he's tagging with Shun in the homeland, let's say, I'm always watching him closely for what he's going to do next in opposition to Shun.
Yeah, so what's going to give him away?
That's what's compelling about him right now. Actually, for the past several years now, that has been what's been compelling about him, is how he plays off of Shun.
Yeah, and how he plays off of other people in general. And that just wasn't there. It's another one of those things. We are entirely grading on a curve, because put him against literally any other talent across the whole weekend and he's still going to come off incredibly well, because he's a brilliant wrestler.
Oh, absolutely.
It is just one of those things that we hold Dragongate to such a standard. We tend to forget that even Dragongate's sort of least best guy is still better than a good chunk of pretty much everyone else. And you know me, I'm a Minoura defender at the best of times.
Yeah.
So
and I think he just needs something that connects with people in a way that's unique to himself.
That's a bit less reliant on the factors around him. But I think, again, not to do it again, but I think that's also kind of part of where his character's at now. And that is kind of the crossroads. Let's
also address the sheer annoyance that I think we all had throughout the week, which was people need to pronounce names right.
It was egregiously terrible. And, it wasn't fabulous last year. And the announcers for Brit King, when some of the Dragongate guys have been over, have also done this as well. But it was a frustration, almost especially, any of the Japanese talent on any of the cards. I was always braced for how terribly a name was going to be pronounced.
Even stuff like calling KZ KZY. It's like, ask somebody.
Yeah, and it's not like this is information that's hard to get, even slightly. I find it incredibly disrespectful, at the very least. Even when Jay does English commentary, he slightly, like, anglicizes, Americanizes the pronunciation of names, because it's easier for people who don't have a familiarity with a language that they don't speak. But there's limits to what allows you that before it just becomes willful ignorance. And the fact that this is WrestleMania week, you know that you are going to be dealing as an announcer and as a commentator, you know that you're going to be dealing with a lot of different talent. You are getting paid to be there, regardless of how much. Let's not wade into that. This is your job, especially when you know you're going to be doing a whole show that's just Japanese talent. Why are you still getting it wrong?
Just those differences are why I can forgive something like, like Yokosuka.
Yeah, that's
because like people don't generally know that the U is silent. I get that.
It's ugly, but it's not technically wrong.
We've talked about this before, but people will say like Yamato instead of Yamato. Which sounds like an insult in Italian to me. Hey, Yamato.
It does. It is a little bit silly, but at least it's not egregiously incorrect. But poor Minoru, his name was absolutely
Kotu Minoru?
Destroyed multiple times.
Just read it off the card, that's all. And then there was I don't know why people were pronouncing Ishin as Yishin.
I have no idea.
I can kind of understand like not knowing that Hyo is one syllable, basically.
That's okay.
If you pronounce it like Hyo, okay. Hayo is like, did you listen to anybody say it?
Clearly not.
Especially when you see all the fans that know ball, shouting Hyo to get him to do his pose.
Yes, including us. Noticed by the Catboy.
Not in this theater though, because of the acoustics.
No, it was certainly something.
Yeah, I thought it was a solid card. I just don't really remember a whole lot standing out about it, just because of the circumstances, really.
And I mean, I fairly loved the main event, but it's one of those things that it is absolutely massively overshadowed by other occurrences. But as a way of introducing people to Dragongate again, I think it was a fairly solid way of doing it, whilst having, at the top of the card, as you said, the most Dragongate ass match that you could possibly have. Again, going to see that show with people that don't particularly know Dragongate, they walked out of it saying that it was really fun. They had a lot of fun during the whole show. It's one of those things. It's really easy to get jaded about what wrestling should be, how it should be received by certain people. But people had a lot of fun at that show. And I think that stands them in good stead.
You also get that formula of Z-Brat's six-man tags where, you get brawling into the crowd, you get those shenanigans, and then you get that sprint quality in the last 5 to 7 minutes.
Which is
when they just really turn it up.
Utterly thrilling every single time. I didn't even really cheer for anyone because I was too busy just smiling and being happy and probably looking mildly unnerving from the darkness. But man, I just love Dragongate. And as the first show to the week, and as I said sort of at the top, like, it set the tone, I think.
And also just the meaning of returning after over 10 years. You could almost say that there was a Dragongate USA presence last year, but it wasn't officially called that.
No, it wasn't the same.
I went to the meet and greet afterward, where they had the merch tables set up, and
I once again was too anxious to do any of that. Maybe one day I will conquer such fear.
They kept saying, it's at Green Street, and I was like, is that an address?
Yeah, what does that mean?
They didn't tell people that it was like the name of a restaurant in the casino. So I went in, and like there were a bunch of fans milling about at first, and then people started dissipating for a while. But I managed to say hi to most of the people that were there. KZ and Susumu remembered me from meeting me in Defy and Prestige. Ishin remembered me too. I only briefly spoke to Kota Minoru because I don't think he speaks much English at all.
No.
I talked a little bit to Sairio, told him about my channel, and he thanked me for it. I told Dragon Kid about it too, and I actually showed him the Toriyama Originals video that I have up, and showed him his little section there. So, and then after I showed him that, I did what Naruki Doi would not, and I hugged Dragongate.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah. And I did not throw him on the floor. So
that was going to be my next question.
Oh, who else was at the table? Like, I talked to Ho-Ho again. We were just talking about, like where we were going to be for the rest of the week.
Here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, and then so I saw Matt Seidel walking around. That's actually something I didn't touch upon when I was looking at the card, because he came out and cut a promo in the ring, putting Dragongate over. But I ran into him too, and we talked for a bit, and really genuinely nice guy. And then Reese Maddox came out. And I said hi to him, and I told him who I was, and I did not expect this at all, but he said that the reason he knows about Modern Dragongate is my channel. So
thank you for your service.
Yeah, again, Reese, thank you. I appreciate it. And then he introduced me to his father, Jason, who had reached out to me before, and so now I have that connection. Who knew?
Networking event.
Yeah, like I was telling you, I had no idea I was going to be doing as much business as I did on this trip, especially for something I booked last minute.
You should do that more often.
Reese Maddox is, I think he's only like 17, isn't he?
It's something like that, something ridiculous.
Looking forward to seeing what he can do.
Yeah, one of our current best up-and-comers is Leon Cage, and he's like 17 as well. And it was just a horrible moment the last time I was at Attack, and I realized that I'm basically twice his age. I was like, oh god, that's horrifying.
Yeah, that was like me with Casey Ferreira.
Yeah.
Young guy who's really talented, up and coming in Vancouver. He trained at the New Japan Dojo in California. Really charismatic, got a great look. He's got really cool, like, high-flying moves. Yeah, keep an eye on him. I will say, over the next few years. So yeah, and then people were clearing out of Green Street, and there were like a couple left, and just because I was talking to people for so long that I didn't even notice the place had cleared out.
Yeah.
And then Shun Skywalker was at a merch table, like kind of off to the side a bit, and he had been
hanging around like a spider.
Yeah. Well, he was selling photos and autographs and stuff like that. So I approached him, and then I don't know what made me comfortable switching to Japanese, but I don't know much. In fact, like, the first thing I said to him in Japanese was, my Japanese isn't very good. But like, as soon as I switched over, he goes like, oh, sugoi. So
I can hear that in his voice as well.
So I told him that I was a Dragongate YouTuber and scrolled through my videos. And when we got to the Masquerade video, he says, you? And he goes, oh, thank you so much. And he, like, he shakes my hand, he pulls me in for a hug.
Oh, wow.
Like, so yeah, he has seen my Masquerade documentary and really appreciated it. And
being perceived.
Yeah, and he even let me film a very short video, which I have up on my Blue Sky under my pinned comment. Like I was telling you, he must have some kind of film background, or maybe he went to film school or something like that, because he took me over to the side and like made sure the lighting and the angle were right. He like positioned himself up against the wall, like really set the scene. And even though it's a very short clip, he just, he made sure it looked good. And yeah, he told me it was really nice to meet me. And it didn't really occur to me until later. And I'm not even patting myself on the back here. It's more like a holy shit, this happened kind of thing.
Yeah.
That I kind of realized later that a lot of Western fans know about him because of that documentary.
Yeah.
So just kind of a mind-blowing.
Yeah, you deserve it though.
Well, thank you.
The work you do is not insignificant, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'm really glad they appreciate it.
As someone whose work will probably not get the eyes of the subject, being that I write in complicated English, Google Translate is not going to do the work there for me. So I live vicariously through you.
You're always welcome to ride my coattails.
Why do you think I'm here? Why do you think I'm doing this again?
Was it the next day started with Defy, right?
It did, yes. 11 a.m. Defy.
So that was the Thursday. I have not watched that show back yet. I know that Veda Scott was on commentary and better with name pronunciations.
Yeah. God, what was on that Defy show? Because I very literally only remembered the tag match
Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on this just because it's non-Dragongate adjacent people and a lot of people that are adjacent to me, but...
well, same.
C4 and Negro Casas against Bollywood Boys and Galeno Domal.
Galeno
That was
Domal,
fun.
that's my GHC national champion. We had the belt with him and everything.
Was that that was one of the reasons we moved the seats, because he's so wide that we could not see past his corner.
Yeah, he had too much shoulder, and we were like, oh, okay. You had to be standing on the exact corner that we're watching from.
And then Amira, but not that Amira.
Not that Amira.
Vert Vixen and Viva Van against Liza Hall, Nicole Matthews and Rio.
Let's go, Rio.
Rio's one of yours.
One of ours. Lovely human beings.
Nicole Matthews and Liza Hall are two of mine. We've also had Viva Van and Vert Vixen and Amira. Vert was Defy champion, women's champion for a long time. Viva Van has been her tag partner for quite some time too. And we book Amira a lot. She's a lot of fun. Very short, powerhouse type.
Yeah, I saw a fair amount of her over the week.
Yeah. You know what I would like to see is a tag team with Amira and Saya Ida?
Oh.
Just short, jacked women.
Yes. Yes.
And that was also the one with Evil against Michael Oku.
Yeah, Oku taking absolute Looney Tunes ass bumps, as he is wont to do. I had a great time with that match.
Just man, you don't have to throw yourself at the floor from great heights all the time.
But he does, and he will. And he kept doing it. Obviously, we won't talk about the Progress show because there was nothing Dragongate on that. But he was in the main event with Luke Jacobs. And a couple of the bumps that he took, I was convinced he was dead. So he doesn't phone it in.
No, I like Oku a lot. I've seen him several times.
It's so wild. I was at his second or third match ever.
Oh wow.
Yeah. it's very, very strange to think about the timeline.
Who was he against? Because the first time I saw him was in Defy. Yeah, he was against Cody Chun. That was a really cool match. Oh, then he was on the Philly card against the Bollywood Boys, tagging with Darius.
Because Leon Slater didn't get there in time.
Oh, that's what that was.
They had problems with the flights. Yeah. So he stepped in. The
second time I saw him was the 11th anniversary. Trent 7.
Oh, God. Death Taxes and Trent 7.
That match I remember being really overbooked and lots of shenanigans.
Yeah, that sounds like a Trent 7 match.
So it wasn't everything I know Oku is capable of doing, but I've really enjoyed seeing him in everything else.
Oh, yeah. No, Oku is always good, and frequently he is spectacular.
Sinner and Saint defending the Defy tag team titles against Hyo and Susumu and Lycos Jim.
If you want to talk about fairly instant chemistry in that match, I went back and looked at some of my posts about it as it was happening. Again, Lycos Jim, the lads, I've been watching them for absolutely years. And to see, specifically, for some reason, specifically Lycos 2, to see him wrestling Hyo and Susumu was so strange. I had a moment, again, still very tired, but I just had a moment where I was like, I'm in a parallel universe. This is not a real thing that I am witnessing. But goddamn, I love that match. Sinner and Saint and Lycos Jim, as we'll talk about again, have incredible chemistry as well.
Yeah, I would love for them to run that back.
They were we are here for it.
Yeah, this was also in the Pearl Theater, so it had the same acoustics issues, but it was still a very fun show, and that match was, it only got 11 minutes, but it was very fast-paced.
It was delightful in all ways.
Sinner and Saint have this, it's not even a spot, because it's a sequence of moves.
Yes.
And we saw it several times, but they have this this double team sequence where they just hit move after move after move.
It's very Motor City Machine Guns of them, which is why it appeals to me so much.
I was definitely mostly aware of Lycos Gym through you.
You're welcome.
But I had been watching them over the past year or so, and I have really liked their stuff.
Lycos is one of these people that, again, we're slightly off topic, but my journey in wrestling, as it were, from when I got into it to the present day, Lycos has been one of these people that's kind of been constant in one way or another, even when he had to retire for a period of time. I just associate him with my experience of Brit Rest. So I always love to see him in situations and different contexts, because, not to get too parasocial here, it feels like an avatar of my experience of wrestling. You know, I'll always be rooting for Lycos, even if I'm yelling at him to shut up, which I do frequently. So, gotta get the bits.
Well, you got me on that too.
Gotta get the bits in. It's a classic. Thank you, Chris Brooks.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'll just breeze through the rest because it's not
particularly relevant.
But there was Kenta against Mance Warner, Rock and Roll Express against Midnight Heat, which was like, I mean, like,
that happened.
To give you an idea of how inspired by them Midnight Heat are, Rock and Roll Express is Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, and one of Midnight Heat is named Ricky Gibson.
Superb.
But yeah, that must have been a blast for them. And then Clark Connors defeating El Phantasmo and Darius in the main.
Another slightly surreal moment for me as well.
I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Clark Connors, so he's Defy champion right now, but he came up through Defy, so that's like, he has a lot of history there. C4 was named because it was originally Clark Connors and Cody Chun.
He never accused wrestling of being uncreative.
But they just kept the name when Guillermo joined Cody. Just because, you know, recognizable branding. Yeah, and then it was kind of funny having LP and Darius both with the LED glasses coming out.
Arguing about them.
LP is also a Vancouver guy. Was big a little before my time in the industry, but we've booked him several times, and he's a guy who, like, I think I was saying this to you, is like, the thing with LP is that I can see him on a 3 a.m. stream in Japan, or I can see him down the street at the Legion Hall sometimes.
El Phantasmo was over in the UK for a period of time. So, like, I very much associate him with, like, before the pandemic. In a lot of ways, it's very...
Yeah, pretty much the same.
It's very strange how you sort of build these associations.
Yeah, pretty much the same, because he was, his big run here was in a promotion that is no longer around.
Yeah, I mean, same for the UK, but for the better.
Yeah, also for the better here, because it was a speaking out thing.
Yeah. I did get to see Phantasmo versus Desire over here a few months ago, which was very fun. I mean, on my soapbox here, but if you haven't heard about Zosiah, keep your ear to the ground on him, because he's absolutely fantastic.
Okay.
And it won't be long before he's everywhere. He's Spanish. He does a lot of wrestling in Rev Pro, but he's on the Super Strong Style card. But, like, he's one of our lads that we're all really big on right now.
Yeah, and I always like seeing Darius. He's really fun.
Darius is just the absolute boy. There's no other way of putting it. I'm fascinated to see what he's going to be doing in Wrestling Resurgence of running something called Bardcore, where they're doing a retelling of A Midsummer Night's Dream with wrestling and also actors. If
there was ever a way that you should get your foot in the door in the wrestling industry, you should get involved with Bardcore. Whatever that is.
Well, we'll find out on May the 10th.
Even just like working crew or something. You can carry a belt to the ring or
that's whatever. About the most that I can carry. I can stand there and recite Shakespeare. Yeah. I can't act, but but I know that play very well.
What was next that day?
I have a list. West Coast, I believe.
Right, that was at Meet.
Which is a fun little venue. A little bit confusing, because it is just a box room. Just literally just a cube.
The way that they set up the bar was really weird, to have it like outside in the courtyard.
Where it looked kind of, shall we say, unofficial.
It reminded me of, what was that convention where they said they were going to have a ball pit and then it was a kiddie pool?
Oh, not DashCon. No.
Yes. It reminded me of the DashCon
it was a little bit DashCon, actually, yeah. Oh, God.
Just like...
Oh, that's deep lore.
Just this lonely little bar off in the corner.
But the one really cool thing about Meet is that it has a particular lighting setup. And they made full advantage of that, because every
show had a different color scheme.
It had a different color scheme, so I can go back through my my photos and know which, like, despite being at the same venue, despite seeing shows back to back in Meet, I can know where one show ends and another begins, because the lighting's different.
Yeah, that had the blue color scheme for that one. Don't have to go through the whole card on that one, but
it's just the one match.
I did like how Mao had the whole, like, I'm late and my Uber driver's coming thing.
Fairly reportedly, that was legit. He needed to be somewhere else, and the show started late.
I thought that was a bit. That's
no. It was at least it was predominantly not a bit.
There were matches on this card where I didn't see all of them because I was doing business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Darius went straight from Defy to this show.
Oh, Darius did a ridiculous amount of matches because he doesn't know when to stop.
Oh, and he was in the 6-man against Suavecitos, who we've booked before. They're really cool guys. They are actually Vegas-based, but they show up in West Coast Pro in California a lot.
Yeah.
The 6-man with Dragon Kid, KZ, and Yamato against Bendito, Latigo, and Tucson. That was a really fun match. West Coast Pro 6-man lucha tags are always really fun. I went down to LA to see Mochi because he was on a West Coast Pro show, and the lucha 6-man tags stole the show.
Yeah, they want to do that.
O'Neal Bendito, though, he is now going to be showing up in Dragongate.
Yeah, for a couple of months, it seems.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
He's going to be there until Kobe World.
Yes. Lucha is also something that I don't know a ton about. So this week was not exactly a learning curve because Lucha is something that I've always really respected. And to a degree, I understood, bits and pieces. But actually seeing luchadores go hard, there is nothing like it. There really isn't.
Yeah, as we will get to. Yeah, so there were shows that day that I did not make it to that had Dragongate matches. I still have not watched those yet.
The Pandemonium show sounded really good that clashed with Defy because that had KZ versus Cappuccino Jones, of all people. Can't remember the exact makeup of the lucha tag that Benkei and Yamato were in.
T-Zone was on one of the teams and Cavernaro was on the other.
Yeah, so I'm sure that was a good time.
Yeah, I'll catch up with that at some point. I just haven't found a stream of that.
I mean, they're doing another Fantastic Mania, I believe. They're doing another Fantastic Mania London. So we'll see who shows up on that.
What's the cross-promotion for that?
RevPro work with CMLL, because they also have a working relationship with AEW.
Yeah, which I think is at this point is probably saving Lucha.
Well, the other thing about that Pandemonium show as well that I would have liked to have seen is Watanabe Miyu versus Maya World.
Oh, yeah.
Because Maya World impressed me in Philly, and it was rad that she was getting more. She got, she only had one booking in Philly, and she had 8 in Vegas. So I do want to hunt that down specifically for that match as well. Yeah,
and so then we stuck around that area because Prestige was also at Meet. That one opened up with Sinner and Saint against Lycos Gym.
Absolute banger of a match.
Yeah, absolutely. That was amazing. Those two teams just had intense chemistry. I have this picture that I'll have to coincide with me talking about it, but it's Judas Icarus on the top rope, kind of hunched over like a gargoyle, doing his S's up.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Oh, another thing about Sinner and Saint that I think you would only know if you were local is that they're also, for as serious as they seem to take themselves, they are very capable of doing comedy bits.
That's my favorite genre.
Yeah. And because there is, and I've told you about Boom Pro Wrestling that runs right up the street from me. They're a comedy-based one, and their promoters come from the comedy scene, not from wrestling. Sinner and Saint aren't together in that one, for the most part anyway. But Travis Williams has a whole bit where he found out that he's the secret son of a time-traveling Abraham Lincoln, who is a wrestler in Boom. And Judas Icarus is obsessed with flipping people. He gets them down on all fours and then puts his hands on them like a scoop, and then rolls them over. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Boom is on a lot of Boom is on YouTube.
I really need to lock in and actually check out because it sounds entirely my deal.
Yeah, I don't know if the whole first season is up. They run by seasons, but
it's very Chikara-core.
Oh, it is very Chikara-core, yeah. And also, Judas has this thing where he pulls out it's just finger guns.
Oh, yeah.
But he still shoots people with it, and they sell it.
Oh, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
My equivalent being Attack Pro Wrestling out in Cardiff. So I guess if listeners take anything away from this, it's go check out Attack and Boom for just some good old nonsense that's all on YouTube.
Okay, so I'll watch some Attack on YouTube, you watch some Boom on YouTube.
Hell yeah. That's a homework assignment I'm willing to take.
I will point you in the right direction. So then we had Six Men with Arez and Dr. Wagner Jr.'s sons against Zebrats. That was Ishin, Minora, and Shun. That was a really fun match that had a lot of big men diving.
Oh yeah, I was looking at one of the videos I took of that. Like, the action's absolutely coming our way, and I have clearly just judged that I'm not going to move, which is a choice that I made, but I didn't get hit by anyone all week, so I'm good at that, apparently.
Yeah, that was also the match where Shun was on the floor for like the last few minutes just writhing around.
If there's any picture that I need to send you, I need to send you the picture I took of Shun in this moment, because he's lying on the floor clutching his head with one foot up on a chair.
I actually have the exact same picture.
I was going to say, we probably
I'm looking at it right now.
But it was so funny. And the thing about the Prestige show, so Shun wore a different bodysuit on pretty much.
He had
show.
the purple psychedelic one for this one,
and the different overmasks as well. He had the Kobe World suit.
Yeah.
And I was very normal about that because my piece about Shun is now out to be read on 60-Minute Draw.
I will link that.
Please and thank you. But the fact that he was wearing the suit that I have so many weirdly strong feelings about, and that I actually got to see him wrestle in it, the weird details that I like. Between that and hearing the Zebrats theme in person, I felt like life was a little bit brighter after that.
So yeah, for the rest of that show, there were a couple standouts. We got to sing Kaze Ninare when Suzuki came out. Kevin Blackwood and Leon Slater. I remember that being good.
It's again, Blackwood's kind of really underrated, and Leon is Leon. He's explosive. He's one of the best that we have in the UK right now. I
stepped out for a couple matches because I had to just network with people, and also just I was so tired at that point that I needed to just get out for a bit.
Yeah, I did the same.
So I only caught a little of there was an 8-person tag, mixed tag, which had several people I know in it, actually. It had Evan Rivers. I don't know Tate Mayfair's.
He's one of ours. He is a...
Okay.
The thing about Tate is that he has a gimmick, a character that's so incredibly readable to a UK audience that US audiences just don't have the necessary points of reference for. So I'm always fascinated to see how people react to Tate. But they reacted to him as, as the sort of, as a slimy heel, which is, what he is, apart from, storyline wise. But, it's always really interesting to see that kind of character being played out of the culture that kind of inspires it.
Right, yeah. My guy Evan Rivers, your guy Tate Mayfair's, Vaughn Vertigo, who is he wrestles mostly in Ontario.
I've seen him a couple of times in Rev Pro. He comes over to the UK every
so
I
like him. I like him. He's he wrestles all over the place now.
Yeah, he does.
And Zaya Brookside, formerly of Stardom and now TNA, I believe.
Yes, yeah, she's Robbie Brookside's daughter.
Yeah. And then the other side was Drexel. And this is a wild team.
It is
Drexel, Matt Brannigan, Amira, and Jaden. Jaden's got a superhero kind of gimmick.
When I think of people that should team up, I immediately think of Drexel and Matt Brannigan.
Right? Matt Brannigan's got basically he's a drunk party boy.
Yeah, he's a goofy party boy.
He's also got this thing where he says he's going to do a flip, maybe, and then the maybe never really happens.
And then Drexel is deathmatch
god, basically.
Corpse paint lad.
I told you Drexel was the guy who was in a Fans Bring the Weapons match locally, and his opponent used my PlayStation controller to plug him in and start controlling him. It was very fun. That actually may have been the show where I talked to Mr. Toshio.
Yeah.
He's the one who hosts Dragongate when they're in Texas when they're in the States. He's been on Dragongate commentary, English commentary with Jay a couple times too. He was actually surprised that I knew who he was.
Aww.
He's like, oh, I'm never around. I'm surprised you even know me. LP against Oku.
Again, Looney Tunes ass bumps. Thanks, Oku.
Oh, that was the one
decisions.
where he just like chucked himself out of the ring in the corner. It was like,
yes,
disgusting.
He does that regularly.
The last couple matches I was outside talking to people because I didn't see the inspiration match.
No, nor did I.
Even though Nicole Matthews, she's one of ours, and I love seeing her, but I kind of couldn't be in the venue any longer.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there was so much, and I had some cool opportunities, and I needed to take them. Mm-hmm. Angels versus Tankman, I think I caught the tail end of that. That was my last show that day. Mm-hmm. You went to another show that night, didn't you?
Yeah, Progress was the midnight show back at the Palms.
I could not have done a midnight show. I was looking at that show and it looked cool, but
I have no idea how
so
I managed it, if I'm being honest. And even then, looking at it, that's still only halfway through the amount of shows that I went to. But again, it's the Progress guys kind of have to go out and support the lads. I thought it was a really solid show. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Got to see Paul Walter Hauser win the Proteus Championship. All right, get weird with it. Why not? The opportunity presents itself. And again, Luke and Oku in the main event, like 2 a.m, and they were doing absolutely amazing work.
After Oku had wrestled like 2 or 3 times that day. And also Cara Noir's only
match versus Minoru Suzuki, of all people. When that got announced, the sound I let out was something. But I think, again, people clown on Progress for reasons, some of them legitimate, some less legitimate, but I think it was a really solid card. I think it was a solid chapter. I thought the especially the women's championship match was really, really good. And the main event,
I'll go back and watch that one. I think
incredible. So
then we move to Friday.
I didn't have to get up too early.
Yeah, we just did an afternoon show. So that was when we went to see WrestleCore, which is a Vancouver promotion. So I know all those guys.
I really enjoyed the WrestleCore show because one of the things that I love about indie wrestling is when it allows itself to be indie wrestling, to be a little bit silly, a little bit weird, a little bit kind of janky, and like it's not trying to emulate the big leagues.
And WrestleCore really leans into that feel too.
It was very punk rock. It was very silly. It had the lowest ring I've ever been to, save for literally a no ring match. And it just made me smile, even with the truly innovative deathmatch spots that I don't watch a lot of deathmatch, but there was stuff in that match that I've never seen before.
And they said, you're going to see some shit you've never seen before, and we absolutely did. And
for a second, I just thought that would be Dark Sheik being animated by the power of disco.
So that was when on the way there, a couple blocks away, we just happened to go get to a crosswalk, and Zack Sabre Jr. was standing next to us, and so we talked to him for a bit. And I guess we walked to the venue, and I mean, you were mentioning this, just like the memory on that man is insane.
He has a steel trap memory for people, places,
because he remembered meeting me like 2 years ago at Defy, and it wasn't just like, oh, I remember you, because like I said, I met you a couple of years ago at a Defy show, and he goes, oh yeah, that was my first time at Defy, and I was like, you remember that?
Yeah, I didn't want to like
he remembered the specific date. I
didn't want to test him, because the first time I met him very briefly was in like 2016, but I wouldn't have put it past him to be able to remember that.
He's always up for a conversation. He's always up for a chat.
Incredibly amiable. And then goes on to put in, unsurprisingly, one of my matches of the whole week.
And we will get to that. I am really glad you got exposed to just my people a little more. Like, you had seen some of them or over the week, but
in different places, or I was sort of aware of a name here or there, but like hadn't actually
but
seen
that was
them.
definitely the most like pure. I don't want to say like pure Vancouver, but it was very indicative of what a WrestleCore show here is like. Because all the promotions around here have different feels to them, but that one you got to see in its purest form.
Yeah, I loved the quirks that were clearly like that was specific to WrestleCore as well. The sort of they presented themselves really strongly as being different but not oppositional, especially for something that's got a bit more of a punk ethos. A lot of people take that kind of thing to mean like aggressive or confrontational, when I mean it can certainly be that, but the sense of it just being, we do things differently here, but we don't like take ourselves too seriously. We're not like we do things differently here. It was just like, come join in.
Yeah.
It was a very sort of welcoming kind of atmosphere for the nonsense that they put on.
Yeah, and the promoter, Cobra Kai, the masked man, he's very much a showman.
Yeah, the ring announcing and the way people are brought to the ring with the little introduction before their theme hits and stuff. I've never seen anything like that before, and I really liked it.
They do an annual, it's usually in August, they do a 2-day outdoor lucha show.
Oh, hell yeah.
And they just have like 20 matches. Like,
Let's go.
Probably more than that. They have like throughout, because it's throughout the day. It's like a festival. So they have just a ton of matches throughout the day, which is how I met Yutani a couple of years ago. I told him I was a fan of his and Kaito Ishida, so he took a picture with me and sent it to Ishida.
Oh, wow. You've been perceived by the Kick Boy.
So that show had, let's see, a 4-way with Casey Ferreira, Sonico, G Sharp, and Evan Rivers.
I opened the show, yeah.
So you got to see Casey.
I did. Immediately, like, we sat down in, like, the third or fourth row. The show starts, and immediately we have to vacate our seats because everyone's diving all over the place.
Yeah.
From a ring that is literally, like, half a foot off the ground.
Right,
I tweeted, like, I've immediately had to move because of dives. I approve of this place.
Yeah, and then we just stood the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it was Nicole Matthews and Elliot Tyler against Ride or Die.
Yeah.
Ride or Die is a lot of fun. It's a tag team of a tax accountant and a gay cowboy.
Why wouldn't it be,
Very solid. Well, like I was telling you, they're part of a bigger stable, which is so it's tax accountant and gay cowboy led by an evil Jesus.
Which is, it's very village people of them.
Yeah. So that is Michael Richard Blaze. He's very good. He's a trainer up in Edmonton. He's got his own school. Been around for a while. Really good. We've booked him several times. He walks around like the ring during his entrance with like a book. It's kind of like his Bible. He sort of like creeps on people, just like stares at them really intensely.
Oh God, I'd hate that.
It's very interesting when you get his attention. Kind of interesting thing about that was Elliot Tyler is beloved, tenacious underdog type, but he is absolutely hated in Prestige.
Wild.
So it's really fun to see him do both. I don't know what he was doing through that match where he was trying to make a reference to something and he had to like explain it to someone in the crowd so they would get it.
He was trying to come up with, it was a movie, he was trying to come up with a movie. It was really funny, but I can't remember.
Yeah, he was making a movie reference. Anyway, like of all places that you could see that, it was on I guess it was broadcast on Zicky Dice's Twitch channel because he was on the stage.
Was.
Dark Sheik and Casanova Valentine in the disco death match.
Yeah, the power of disco.
Yeah.
And at one point, someone didn't hit the disco cues long enough, so Sheik had to be like, "Help! I'm dying! I'm dying!"
Yeah. Which
because
was like
the disco had to be turned back on to do the comeback spots.
Yeah. I wasn't really clear on what the gimmick was for that because it was like disco would
no one was
like intermittently turn on and off.
I think that was just like there was a disco ball that was used as like a weapon, and the rest of it was just, I don't know, just stupid. I think if you're looking for logic, don't come to the disco death match.
There was LP versus Maki Ito, the cutest match in the world.
Where it was an I Quit match, but it was, you know...
You had to admit that the other is the cutest.
Yes, which was certainly something.
It was very silly, but it was fun. Oh, so yeah, then, one of my highlights of the entire week was Artemis Spencer versus Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah.
Because,
real grabs.
mean, people know how good Zack Sabre Jr. is. I don't think enough people know how good Artemis Spencer is. He is a trainer out of Vancouver. He is a technical grappler. He's just insanely good and extremely underrated.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of fans really know what he's all about, but every wrestler who has come out of this region has the utmost respect for him. Incidentally, by trade, he is an iron worker and he welded his own ring.
Oh, wow.
So he has his own wrestling ring that he built himself.
Incredible. Yeah, I'm sure I've seen Artemis Spencer live before, but I can't really remember where.
He's also married to Nicole Matthews, so they're like dual head trainers of the dojo in Vancouver, and they've produced a ton of talent, including like Sinner and Saint and all those other guys.
Yeah, I just watching this match, which I knew what to expect going in with the talent, but especially in the environment, which, I mean, we've kind of buried the lead here. It was in literally called the Swan Dive, a nightclub that had not much space. Everything was kind of around a corner, but just getting to see that kind of grappling up close with people who are so good at what they do. I don't tend to sort of stand there and say wow when I watch wrestling, but there were a couple of times when I was just like, oh wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there was Tara Zepp against Amira.
Not that one.
I had needed to do some business with Tara, but she was so like jet lagged and busy that we only got to talk for a second.
That's Mania week, baby.
Her shows should be up soon as I work things out with the promoter.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, Jody Threat is the champion with the most ostentatious belt. Like
you
the most
warned me about
I warned you that it was
chains, yeah, and I was not prepared for the light up panels and the infinity mirror.
Yeah. It is called the Infinity Championship for a reason.
I didn't think I had to take that so literally.
It is the most edgelord belt in wrestling.
It's so ridiculous. It was fantastic.
It's so great, though. But yeah, she was against Bestia and Damien. I've worked with Jody before. She's really cool.
She's cool as hell. She turns up in attacks sometimes, but it always seems to be when I'm not at a show, which is very annoying.
Yeah, always glad to have her. Then... The most insane death match I've ever seen, Drexel and Funnybone in the main event. I don't even know how to describe that to people. I
don't either.
Even if you're not a deathmatch fan, it's just like, watch it for the novelty of it, because
exactly
some of the dumbest, most insane shit I've ever seen happen in that match. Like Drexel got balloons stapled to him.
But again, phrase this correctly, because he got an inflated balloon. Like, so it was the balloon on the string, and he had the string stapled to his forehead. So funny.
They didn't all stay on him, but then there was just like one red one that just stuck with him.
And again, I said it at the time, but he looked like a Pikmin. It was it was so silly. Oh, and
that was nuts.
And then at the end, they did the classic thing of, because this was the main event, and it was just like, everybody throw your chairs into the ring.
Oh yeah, the old ECW spot, yeah.
The carnage that ensued of just people throwing chairs. I stayed in mine because I was like, no, I would like to stay sat down, thank you. So it was very funny to, basically, it was me and then just a big space around me because everyone else had thrown chairs into the ring, and I was just there like, I don't know, my knees need a break.
I am glad you got to see some local flavor to me, though. Yeah, hopefully I will be able to come to the UK sometime and see one of yours.
I mean, you've seen a fair few of them, and I know that you've been over here for a couple of shows. Well, you got to come to an attack show. That's what it is. You've got to come like Mistletoe or something. The Welsh scene is the backbone of UK Grabs. It really is.
Okay, so that night was, I think, the highlight of the trip for shows for me was the DGUSA and Pro Wrestling Revolution Gate of Revolution. Just really solid card.
It was a solid card, but in most ways completely over-delivered. And on top of that, that this was on at the same time as an extremely sold-out
Spring Break.
Joey Janela's Spring Break was on at the same time.
Yeah, there was some worry early on. You could tell Syrio was kind of concerned about the turnout at first, but then it filled up after the first couple.
I genuinely think that it was just Friday night in Vegas. People got caught in traffic, or they were getting something to eat and they didn't get back in time for kickoff. And I think that's what it was, because by the time we hit the main event, it wasn't like sold out, but it wasn't a small crowd.
I think they could have taken away one row of chairs from each side.
Yeah, in the end it wouldn't.
I mean, I think it worked out.
Yeah. More chairs for people to clatter into during that main event.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had Diablo Azteca, Kid Lynx, and Reese Maddox. Obviously, Reese was the only one I was familiar with at that point. I had not seen Kid Lynx before. Diablo Azteca, I have definitely heard of him. I don't know if I've actually seen his matches.
Again, Lucha Idiot, there was a learning curve. Well, not a learning curve exactly, because like I know names. I just haven't necessarily like seen people wrestle.
Well, I guess he's a PWR mainstay. So, and I don't really know much about PWR. They're based out of San Jose, California.
That tracks.
Rey Horus, who I have seen many of his matches, Lucha Underground, bunch of times on the indies. He's fantastic. Don't know why he's not signed yet. He was tagging with Vaudi Morales, who was on AEW Dark quite a bit, and they were against, I guess they call themselves the Border Patrol. That's what they were billed as, but they were announced as La Migra.
Yeah.
I don't know if that gimmick works in this day and age, because it's honestly problematic.
One of the ones that I was not sure about when they were announced.
I didn't think it would catch on, but I was really tempted to start a "This Feels Racist" chant.
Wow. Okay. Wow. I mean, yeah, but wow. Despite my, shall we say, misgivings about the whole affair, I wasn't, like, uncomfortable during the match, at least. Like, they didn't play on how
they didn't, like,
the worst of that gimmick could be.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll respect that at the very least.
They also just reminded me of, like, kind of the standard WCW Saturday Night gimmick, where it was just, like, where everyone had a job.
Yeah, everyone's got a profession.
I just have no real, like, attachment to that gimmick. I guess it's, like, it's cheap heat, it feels like.
Yeah, but even then, I'm not sure it's that much.
Because they weren't leaning into it either.
No.
So.
I genuinely remember nothing about this match.
Yeah, I'm honestly talking about it more than I care to. I do like Rey Horus, though.
Yeah.
I think he deserves better.
Agreed.
I would love to see Rey Horus on regular DGUSA cards. El Cucuy and O'Neill Bandito against La Estrella and Viento, and Mike Seidel and Willie Mack.
Oh, Willie Mack was having the time of his life during this match.
Oh yeah,
he was
when it
joyful.
Broke out into spontaneous music and he just started dancing.
Well, yeah, and he did the backwards, the inverted worm, I guess, and it was like, whoa, okay.
There's a guy here, he's one half of a tag team called the Moral Panic.
Oh wow.
He does that move and he calls it the Caterpillar.
I guess.
But yeah, it's interesting because everyone here is like in some way adjacent to Dragongate, but not directly. It's kind of funny. Because, I mean, Willie Mack did have a stint in Dragongate, but he was more known for DGUSA.
Yeah.
Mike Seidel was never in it, but Matt was.
Yeah.
And then, Estrella, obviously, he's the Forever Excursion. Viento was in Dragongate briefly, along with Deimos.
Yeah.
And then O'Neill Bandito is going for a stint there, and then El Cucuy obviously broke the ring when he was there that one time.
One of my favorite parts of this match was actually seeing Matt Seidel out of the corner of my eye taking video, and just being like, "You're doing amazing, sweetie."
Yeah.
Just from the other side where he was stood with Saidio, I think.
And Mike is the older of the two, if I'm not mistaken.
Wild.
I thought it was interesting, like, because I don't really know logistics of what it takes to get a Stardom match on the Dragon Gate card. I assume it's through the United Japan thing.
That's as good an explanation as any.
But yeah, then we saw Wingori, Hanan, and Sayaida against Hyen and Charisma. Hyen's really good. She gets better every time I see her. I have not seen Charisma before. I think she did pretty well.
She did well. Worth noting the use of Avril Lavigne's Hello Kitty as an entrance theme, which, powerful. I have to respect that.
And then, I liked seeing Hanan and Sayaida. You know my love for Sayaida.
Do.
Just like...
And you know what? I get it, because, I was so into Wingori after this.
Yeah. That was also around when I noticed that Hazuki and Starlight Kid were sitting next to us in the same row.
Like 2 chairs over.
Just like a couple chairs away. I said hi to them. I didn't really get to talk to them, but they were
enjoying the show.
Yeah. Starlight Kid was the only reason I knew who she was is because she was wearing a mask.
Foiled. like
an N9
hoisted
mask.
by your own petard.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have suspected who she was otherwise. But apparently there were censored pictures of her at WrestleMania, so I guess she wasn't wearing a mask there.
Wow.
So apparently she was counting on nobody in the WWE crowd.
I was going to say, that seems like a fair assumption, but...
Dragon Kid and Ultimo Dragon against Hoholun and Susumu Yokosuka. That was a fun one. There were plenty of Dragon Kid antics in that one. I mean, everyone loves seeing Dragon Kid, and Ultimo Dragon's always really over.
No separados, though.
No, of course not.
Can't believe it. Can't believe you've done this.
I was actually surprised at talking to people throughout the week how many people list Hoholun as their favorite.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I love that for him.
They know him, and like he's recognizable, and obviously does have the personality that comes through. And Susumu got a fair amount of chance too. This was also a very hardcore Dragon Gate crowd, yes. I think, as opposed to the Rebirth show.
Well, the people that would be more the GCW-aligned crowd would have been at Spring Break.
SmackDown was also running at the same time that night, so...
I like how
the WWE crowd were there.
Didn't even know that, because I'm so... I do not care about WWE so much.
Well, just being Friday night.
That makes some of the DMs I got make more sense of people that were at stuff. I am extremely oblivious at the best of times.
But yeah, and then the match that really stole the show, I think, is the tag title match with the Lucha Solos against the Panther Brothers. Which I saw spots in that match that I have never seen before.
Absolutely.
That Hurricane Rana off the top.
Yeah.
Into other guys on the outside was just nuts.
Yeah, off his shoulders, doing a rod onto the outside. Like, I can't even make that make sense in my head, because that's just not how physics works. People are rightfully talking this up as a dark horse match that everyone should go out their way to see, and I 100% agree. It was spectacular.
Absolutely, yeah. I had known about the Panther Brothers before. I don't know if I'd seen them though.
Yeah, I was familiar with the Panther Brothers, didn't know Lucha Solos.
But yeah, that really impressed me. You know, get those guys on more DGUSA cards.
It's just more cards in general. Like, wow. If that doesn't impress you, I don't know what is in your soul, honestly.
Yeah, that was just like pure lucha goodness. After that Hurricane Rana spot, I remember looking over and just seeing Hazuki and Starlight Kid just losing their minds. And then Yamato against Rich Swann. I was actually surprised to find out that this was just over 12 minutes, because that felt like a longer match. It did feel like a
longer match, now that you say it.
Because it ramped up, and it had like a whole like second gear to it.
Like, there was obviously the usual sort of Rich Swann shenanigans, all night longing, and Yamato being less than impressed, but you could see on his face that he was still, charmed, despite himself. But yeah, no, to find out that only went 12 minutes is actually quite a surprise.
Yamato actually worked from under in this one, which was interesting.
A little bit here and there, yeah.
And I don't think, they said it was non-title.
Yeah.
I thought they were building up to that at the end of the Rebirth show, but I guess
felt
not.
like they were, but it makes sense knowing that there was going to be that match between Jason and Mante. Another title match in between that, just because someone asked, would have felt a little bit incongruous to the canon. And Dragongate do actually care about that. even on quote-unquote non-canon shows, they do tend to respect the canon that they have.
Right.
It makes sense to me that didn't end up being for the Dreamgate. If there'd been any other situation, it probably would have been.
I mean, like, obviously, singles matches, unless they're, like, intensely focused upon, are not really...
Yeah, it's not going to be the blow-away.
Dragongate's main focus.
But I loved this match. I love Yamato.
Yeah, I really
like,
it.
I don't know if this is a surprise to anyone, but I'm very happy that I got to see him in a singles match.
And again, it was really cool just seeing Rich Swann kind of return to form. And really, like, he seems a lot more refined now, because he was very young when he was in Dragon Gate the first time. Well, he's only 34 now.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah, because his first time was in 2011, yeah.
Oh, wow. A child.
And his stint lasted a while. There were about 3 years where it was his primary promotion. Fighting a whole new generation now for the most part, even though Yamato would have been around that time. And then the...
Oh, wow.
21-minute 6-man tag.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And going into this, it was interesting because I remember when they booked it, I was thinking, like, Benkei, Hyo, and KZ kind of just throwing random baby faces together. But then we got the whole story about the two of them basically fighting over him. Like, the literal tug of war.
Yeah. The way the entirety of who they decided to bring over for Mania had sort of snapped together as the story beats started to unfurl shows you how much Dragon Gate really do pay attention to the details and how much they plan in advance, because the storyline was not just thrown together. They had to get 2 new people visas to wrestle in the US just to sort of keep this implication alive to audiences that would not necessarily care. That's why I love Dragon Gate, because they care that much.
And it was the Z-Brats trio that we had been seeing.
Yeah, with Ishin coming in. That's the cage match team.
Yeah.
Because Ishin goofed too close to the flame and Saria put him into that match.
I loved this match. That was just like it was kind of like the same format as the main event of the Rebirth match, where it's like, you know, you get the Z-Brats crowd brawl and then the sprint at the end, but this one just hit another gear. Those last 7 or 8 minutes were just non-stop.
I've been in electric crowds, you know, for big moments, for like really significant matches. I've seen matches that have made me cry. I've been there for returns like the Hardy Boys at Mania in 2017. But the atmosphere in the room for this match is up there with the biggest of those moments. The vibe was unreal. Loud, and everyone was there for everything and screaming for everybody and every single moment of that match. And people can get down on crowd brawling, but I've never seen a crowd brawl be quite as effective as what Z-Brats were doing in that match. They
were all over the building.
Yeah, this iteration of Z-Brats is, it's experiencing some existential dread right now, but I've never been more into Z-Brats than I am right now. I think they worked just so perfectly as a unit, causing chaos, doing everything they needed to do, and then playing so beautifully off what Benkei, Hyo, and KZ were doing as well.
And then I'll have to ask Ho next time I talk to him, but I have to see if Hyo got his cat tail down from the
oh god, yeah, when Shun flung it.
When Shun just launched it and it just
caught on the light,
stuck up there,
and the whole crowd goes, "Oh no!" That was so funny. Yeah,
God, that was just that was what I wanted from this experience.
The come down I experienced from that match emotionally over the next couple of days was absolutely brutal. Because I remember looking over at you at one point and you went, "This is the happiest I've been in a long time."
Yeah,
and I honestly think it's up there with the happiest I've ever been. It was just perfect. And I was geeked because I was like, oh my god, I've got to see a Samson driver, even though I hate that move because I found it terrifying.
Yeah, it's really cool that people were able to, you know, get what they were all about. And to a degree also Shun, as layered as he is, there is a sort of a version of him that is a little more digestible crowds who don't follow as closely?
Well, during the I think it was the Prestige match, he was being very like petulant and silly, in a way that you don't get to see from him very often. And he was clearly having a lot of fun.
But yeah, the match was fantastic. The energy in the room was fantastic.
And then we all ran up and banged on the apron, and I bruised my hands quite significantly.
I mean, my hands were just hurting from clapping all week. But yeah, I wanted to go around and talk to more people, but they really kind of ushered us out of there.
Yeah, that venue was running a very tight ship for various different reasons, because they were running their shows a lot closer together, and they didn't really have the space to do any of the meet and greet stuff, because it was, Meet Las Vegas is 1.5 rooms, and that half a room is a hallway.
Yeah. I am glad that I got to connect more with Ho-Ho at that show, though, and I'm glad you got to meet him, too.
Yes, I did. And hopefully I didn't say anything too ridiculous.
I don't think so, no. Not that I remember.
Well, I didn't bring up Brit King because Tanaka Ryoya is going to be there in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And as we left, Ho-Ho said, like, I won't see you, but Tanaka will see you. And I was like, threatening. That was threatening.
Yeah, there was that. And then we went over to Grap House,
we went over
the
to
outdoor
Grap House,
one.
yes, which was... I was riding the high from the Dragongate show so powerfully. I really don't remember much of anything that happened on that show.
I remember...
Other than Mao was there. He jumped off something tall.
I remember Yoshihiko.
A BZW legend, Yoshihiko.
And then I stayed for the Sinner and Saint match. I don't even remember who they were against because I was like delirious by that point.
Yeah, very that.
Some of my folks were... standing ringside watching, so talked to Evan Rivers for a bit about trying my hardest. I don't know what circumstances, but he wants a match with KZ, and
I want to see that.
Really love to see that.
I want to see that.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and see if I can make that happen, however possible, because Ho-Ho and I are coordinating on trying to get some people here. It's just I gotta get promoters on board and want to be able to pay them. So.
Yeah, that's always going to be the kicker now, isn't it? That's the only reason why I haven't gotten the 3 matches that I want.
Yeah, and I think some of that's going to be... I will put up some of my own money for that. Like, I will save up for that if I have to.
And I will do my best to be there.
I am now working with somebody who co-promotes with several promotions, so it is possible that we could coordinate a couple shows on a couple days kind of adjacent to each other. But if I have to, put up my own money, I will co-promote a show myself. Gustos or produce. Buyuden Infinity.
Yeah. I was trying to think of puns and it was not happening.
I mean, I have some ideas, but I'll keep that close to the chest for now. And then because I am an insane person that doesn't know how to stop, I flew out the next afternoon and then went to a concert that night.
Yes, you did.
So,
whilst I was at 2 other shows.
Local post-punk goth rock band called Actors. They're big enough to tour the world, but yeah, they're from here, and so it's really cool to see them at home. Interestingly enough, Tara Zepp was in one of their music videos.
Oh god, everything is wrestling.
It all comes around.
I know that I say that a lot, but that's because I keep being proven right.
Yeah, what shows did you go to after Grap House?
So the next day, on the Saturday, as I said, I went to see Sinners with Lyric, and then we went to the GCW DDT TJPW show, which in theory, we would have missed a lot of it, but it was running late. So we actually got to see pretty much the entire show. I think we only missed 2 matches. Again, don't remember a great deal about it. Did get to see Takeshita, who unfortunately I hadn't gotten to see on the DDT card because that clashed with WrestleCore.
Yeah, I would have liked to see him again.
Got to see some of the DDT boys that I missed because I didn't get to see that show. And then after we were very normal and smart, and then we went to the Clusterfuck, which if Dragongate Rebirth was the perfect note to begin the week on, Clusterfuck was not the perfect note to end on, because wow, that was not fun. There was some fun parts to it, but the concept of the Clusterfuck is great, and it worked really well when it was still just a bit at the end of spring break. But I think even in terms of independent Clusterfuck matches, this one did not evidence itself why it should still exist well. There were some really, really good bits, but they were mostly at the beginning and the end. And I think they kind of hung some of the more local talent out to dry a little bit. A lot of the crowd didn't know the slightly less big names. I don't think there were a lot of people that were really pulling for the Vegas talent, which was unfortunate. And also the Invisible Man bit lasted way too long. It was like 7 competitors.
Yeah, I have not watched that yet, but
mostly skippable.
I'm seeing that Brody Lee Jr. won.
Yeah, no, but that was a really good bit at the end as well. And Doris was involved because,
cute.
of course, Doris is somehow involved. I can't remember the exact circumstances, but I think it was Megan Bain came in, wrecked shop. Lena Cross came in. I love Lena. Then Manders, one called Manders, was in. And sort of when you hit that section, it's much more solid as a sort of rumble. But yeah, when it gets to the end, it gets announced as the final competitor, and it's Joey Janela. And we're all like, oh, well. Then there's the announcement, and it's like the final competitor. And it's actually Chris Bay walks out.
Cool.
And obviously everyone's immensely pleased to see him because of everything he's been through this year. And obviously to see him up and about and having that moment was awesome. But he was obviously not there to wrestle, so he instead introduced Brody Lee Jr. If that hadn't have been it would not have been fun.
Well, the last time I saw Brody Lee Jr., he looked like a child. Has he had a growth spurt yet?
No, he is still like a child. He looks like a 13-year-old.
Because when he has a growth spurt, like given who his dad was, he's gonna be a huge kid.
So tall. Also, it was easily the worst crowd I've been in all week. Like the clusterfuck itself didn't start until 12:20.
Ugh.
There was another match beforehand, which was a cage match, which had some crazy spots, but I wouldn't call it good. But got to see, again, Doris was in that too, because Doris is in everything. But also got to see another guy from Eurograps, Mike DeVecchio. He's currently in the Champion Carnival, actually.
Ninja Mac was in that too.
And Ninja Mac was in that doing Ninja Mac things. Speaking of people that turn up in Japanese promotions. So it was a long show with like nearly 200 wrestlers in it. And most of it wasn't good. So it was a really surreal experience. I'm glad I got to experience it, but I think it's one of those things that it's a good idea, but in practice, you have to do so much work.
You tire out the crowd by the end.
Yeah,
especially because it's like the last of the week and so late at night.
I mean, there were people around me that were having a great time, absolutely. But they're not people whose opinions I really trust on wrestling. So
like by the end of that match last year in Philly, I was dead on my feet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that we had seats.
I don't even remember most of it.
We had seats, and I went and got like snacks from the bar and stuff like that. But the best thing that came out of going to the clusterfuck was that I got to see, because I didn't go to the TJPW show, so I didn't see Up Girls, but they came out at the beginning of the clusterfuck and did Upper Kick. So I was like, I can be happy now. I've seen Upper Kick live, and give them their due. It was like 12:30 in the morning, and they were doing those vocals. They were doing them.
Nice. Oh, and Unagi was in the match too.
Yeah, that was a surprise. Faced off against Kid Bandit at one point. I was like, this makes sense to me.
I'm just now looking. The Ironman champion is now Pokotan's head.
Oh, of course. Why wouldn't it be?
Apparently the head came off and won the title. So.
Beautiful.
Doesn't seem like it would be too hard to pin that, but I'm sure that'll change like the wind. Yeah, I don't think I could have done another 2 days. I was already pretty exhausted by the end.
I get it. You did the 2 shows before even getting to Mania week.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, like plus all that plus the weekend before. Even though I had a couple days to rest in between, it was still a lot. Especially since like that was the first time I had really gone on like a trip like this or been to wrestling shows since my neck injury last year.
Yeah.
I was laid up for a while. It's held up surprisingly well though. I don't want to push it, so I don't think I'm going to be like going to all the shows again, but I can at least go out to some of them again.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously with the implication that there'll be more Dragongate in the US.
Yeah.
I'm fearing for my personal finances because I don't know if they'll ever do much in the UK for various reasons. I remain hopeful if there was anything for me to get involved, like I will be a one-person street team. But if there's stuff going on in the US that I can make, I'm an adult, I have a passport. There's no reason for me not to try.
Yeah, well, if we get something going in Vancouver, you've always got a place to crash, which would actually be kind of funny because if that happened, I would be the only non-Brit in the house.
Outnumbered.
I'll coordinate with people. Still don't know how that became my life, but...
you just stand in the right places at the right time.
I guess so.
I'll stand in more places and let's see what happens.
So that was our trip, and you stayed for a couple more days, right?
Yeah, and then I flew back on the Tuesday, back to the UK on Wednesday, and crashed, and have mostly just been sleeping and dealing with the fallout.
I was fine as long as I kept going, but as soon as I stopped, it all caught up with me, and I got hit with a massive cold that I'm still getting over. My voice probably sounds much better than it did a few days ago. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice
a little bit
today, but I was in bed for the better part of a couple days. Well, I think that about wraps things up. It was very lovely spending time with you once again.
Yeah, I'm glad that you could make it out, that your health held out.
Yeah, that was very last minute, but I'm really glad I did that because it was probably the best career move I've ever made because I just made so many connections. Did not expect that to happen.
Well, next time we'll get me a career to move.
Okay. Thanks again for joining us as we sleepily rambled about our respective trips. Again, sorry for the low energy. Being exhausted and sick really took a lot out of me, but I hope you enjoyed this anyway. Eden and I plan to be back after Kobe World in the summer to reanalyze the roster and see how they've changed since our first set of episodes. Until then, I have at least one more video in the works for May, and then we'll see what I have time for in June, so keep an eye out for more content. But once again, don't just take it from me.
Subscribe! Here, come on.